Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Just Like You show. I am your host, Alexis Christine, and I am a spiritual mindset coach and Reiki master, helping women break through their limiting beliefs, rewire their brain, and manifest the life of their dreams. Just Like You is a podcast for all of the divine souls looking for guidance on their healing and ascension journey. We explore the depths of the universe, hold space for vulnerable conversations about spirituality and self-development, delve into the esoteric things like how to manifest, starseeds, the astral realm, and shed light on taboo topics such as plant medicine and so much more. I am honored that you are here to take this journey with me. I want everyone listening to be able to leave each episode feeling inspired and having learned something tangible to take away into their day-to-day life. If you feel called to work with me or explore this work deeper, please reach out at imalexischristine.com or you can DM me on Instagram at iam.alexischristine. Hey everyone, I'm Alexis and I'm an ascension guide, spiritual coach, and Reiki master, helping women transmute unresolved trauma to ascend into a life of inner peace and freedom. I'm on this week's episode of Hot Girls Theory and I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
Welcome to Hot Girls Theory. This is Ash.
And I'm Indi, and this is a podcast where we explore the world from the theoretical perspective of two hot girls. And today we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we live and record this podcast. I'm coming to you from the land of the Wurundjeri people, and Ash is coming to you from the land of the Kaurna people. We celebrate the stories, culture, and traditions of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders of all communities, past and present, who also live and work on this land. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and that we do live on stolen land.
Okay, so Indi, what has been happening with you?
My life is kind of just like really focusing on uni. I think this podcast episode really kind of goes into some things that we're both dealing with in our life
Definitely.
Right now. Like, you know, just trying to focus on the spirituality side of things, just trying to focus on like how we can show up for ourselves better in life. And I know we've been talking about it and like going on about it, but it is really important, and it is a slow and steady kind of incline to get us back up to where we need to go. So I went to the gym the past two times in the past week, and just like trying to make those like commitments to continue to go and exercise and do what my body needs, because I can already feel like I'm taking the right steps. Like I mentioned to Ash the other day, I'm working from ground zero in a sense of like I'm really working hard on like not fucking my body up, because if I go too hard too fast, like my brain tells me I should, because I need to build up that lost progress that I had and get to that stage again, I know that it's gonna be a detriment to me if I do that. Like it's gonna fuck my back up, and I'm not gonna be able to go to work, I'm not gonna be able to go to the gym. So I've been doing like walking, riding a bike, and then working on some core exercises. And again, like none of it's weighted, it's all just body weight stuff. And from there, like after about like maybe a month, we'll work up again to like, you know, adding in more cardio, adding in some weighted exercises, and then again, just like building. So that's really just where I'm at the moment. What about yourself?
Very similar. Because it's kind of, you're completely right. Like you go in, your brain's like, you have to do this, you have to make up for progress and whatever. And I've just come to the realization where it's just like, let's just work on one thing. I'm not going to work on building my ass or like what I usually do. I'm going to work on one thing, and that's cardio and just tone. And then when I get to the level that I want to be at, then we can work on other things. Or like when I can just more so just have the energy to do everything. Because it's so weird. As soon as you go in, your brain's like, you must do everything. It's like, yeah, because I'm going to, you know, in a couple sessions be able to work out like a year of lost progress. Like, of course. But like,
like training hard the way you used to be able to train.
And like I look back and I'm like, that took how long? And my brain is expecting me to go full force into it. And I also have to remember at the time I had a personal trainer, which helped a lot in terms of motivation. But other than that, honestly, at the moment, again, this podcast is very, very reminiscent of what's happening. It's just a whole bunch of getting back in my spirituality shit, cleansing, and all stuff like that. I'm in the middle of writing an episode that I'm not sure when will come out, probably closer to the end of the year because we are scheduled up. And it's a episode that
We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
If you know, you know, kind of
If you know, you
the
know.
House of Horrors, it's coming.
Yes, it's coming. I just didn't realize how emotional writing it out will be. And I'm not even speaking it out loud yet. So I know there'll be tears, there'll be anger. But it's exciting and it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of reliving, especially because I'm at the start, some of the good times. And it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
That's what hurts, especially because the other day I went through my Snapchat memories, which are full of nudes because I was a whore. And I looked hot. And I was going through and I got to a certain time of my life where this starts, like the whole House of Horrors episode. And it's just weird because it's giving context that I kind of forgot as well about how close me and this person was. And it's just like, that is more material. That has to be more content because if I dwell on it too much, I'll cry. And I'll cry in the episode anyway. But yeah, so we're in the storyboarding process. I never had to storyboard X-Files, which really goes to show that friendship breakups are
hard.
10 times more harder,
Yeah.
10 times more complex. And I don't know, we're getting through it. As soon as like it's come to an end, I'll announce that it's in the final stages and then it'll come out shortly after that. But yeah. If you love Hot Girls and you're looking to support the pod, there's many ways you can do this. The best way to show you support for the show is by following us on social media. Find us on Instagram at Twitter at Hot Girls Theory and HGT Podcast on TikTok. You can also share our podcast with your friends and family or to your social media. Don't forget to hit up our social media as well. You can find me, Ash at AshleyXORose, and Indi at Fueled by Indi on Instagram, Twitter, as well as TikTok. Of course, if you can please donate to us and help pay the bills, you can do so via the Buy Me a Coffee link on our Linktree. These are one-off donations at $5, and we even have a Patreon where you can sign up for as little as $3 a month for bonus and exclusive Hot Girls content. Join us, become a hottie in Hot Girls Theory on Patreon. Don't forget to rate, review, and follow us on your favorite listening platform at Hot Girls Theory. If you want to review us, leave a positive review. It allows for others to find us and for our show to grow. And lastly, the best way to get in contact with us is to email us at hotgirlstheory@gmail.com.
Today's episode, oh my goodness.
We are getting
again,
spiritual, babes.
we have been. And
yeah.
you need, again, like this is one where I was like, okay, I'm taking notes. Like I'm writing things down because holy fucking shit. I really enjoyed this person because, you know, we connected. I was on their podcast, you know, it's been shared to social media by now, and you better have fucking listened. We'll have it linked in the show notes as well. But, you know, we talked about on that episode, my childhood trauma, overcoming childhood trauma, you know, that work to ground yourself through spirituality and how important that is. But again, it was just like mind-blowing moment after mind-blowing moment after mind-blowing moment in this episode. It was so interesting.
It's a level of spirituality that it's funny because people who will meet us will go, oh God, she's really into woo-woo, like really spiritual. And I'm like, the person we have on the podcast today is who I want to become. Like that is like spiritual elite in my brain. And like, I just find it so interesting. And I don't know, I just love all stuff spiritual and all stuff thinking outside the box and just thinking just without the constraints, especially, I don't know, it's just nice and pleasant and it's just calming. It's calming.
Absolutely. And I think for me, my favorite part of this discussion was talking about starseeds. And if you don't know what that is, oh, you've got another thing coming.
You are about to go down a rabbit hole, my friend, starting with Hot Girls Theory.
It really is. So please welcome to the show, Alexis Christine. Today we are joined by Alexis. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Alexis. It means a lot.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
No worries. I loved your energy from when we did our podcast recording together. So it was, of course, immediately after I got off that recording with you, I was like, we have to have her on Hot Girls Theory because your vibe and energy is just so amazing. And I want our listeners to be able to share that experience as well. No worries. I'm going to start off with, getting you to give us a little bit of a background on yourself, who you are, and what you do.
As Indi said, my name's Alexis. I am from Toronto. So those of you who don't know where that is in Canada. And I am an ascension guide and spiritual coach. And I basically help people transmute unresolved trauma to be able to live a life of inner peace and freedom and just kind of work through all those limiting beliefs, those mental blocks, and really just enjoy their life and become one with themselves again.
That's amazing. And again, kind of jumping off that, how was your journey into spirituality and like that kind of awakening that you had?
It was a long one, to be honest. It took, I want to say like 3 or 4 years to get me to where I am today. Like the little seed was planted years ago. But essentially I went through like a really toxic breakup. And he had started making some comments about my weight because I was overweight at the time. And that kind of spurred me into like the losing weight aspect of it, but it was teaching me how to release all of my repressed emotions because I grew up repressing it all. And that's why I was gaining weight, because I was eating all my emotions instead of actually processing them. And so that breakup, as toxic as it was, and horrible at the time, I'm grateful for it because it kind of spurred my journey into losing weight, learning about releasing the repressed emotions, learning how to actually process emotions, and then learning about things like journaling and breath work and meditation. And it all just kind of spiraled from there. Every time I found something new, I just went deeper and deeper, and it unraveled so many other things. And then yeah, that's a very quick version. If you want me to go into intense detail, I can.
It's always a breakup, I feel, because I think my most biggest life lessons is from like my worst exes, and I don't want to give them that, but like low key, it's because of them.
Well, it's because of them, because of like negative things though. So you're not really giving them anything positive. So at least there's that. But speaking of a breakup, I mean, to be fair, like a lot of what Hot Girl Series, especially in the early days, was founded on was like reflecting on past relationships. And that kind of just sparks another question for me. What are some like the biggest lessons you did learn, either specifically from that toxic relationship or any other relationship you had? Like what are the lessons about yourself and how you interact with others?
Honestly, I think the biggest lesson I learned from all of them was my self-worth, and to start putting myself first and seeing myself as worthy, because I went through a span. Almost every single relationship I had ended up in the guy leaving. And it was, at first, I thought I was struggling with some sort of abandonment issue that I had to work through. And that's why the universe kept bringing it back to me, because I hadn't figured it out and healed it yet. And it never really resonated with me because I was thinking there's nothing in my life where that wound would have been created. Like I was really trying to connect it to some sort of memory or something through all like the shadow work, the inner child healing, all of that.
Well, I remember you talking about your parents when we did our podcast recording. And so I'm like, yeah, you're fine in that department, really. Like,
yeah. And so it wasn't really resonating. And it wasn't until I met someone last year who was a soulmate. There's no other word to describe it. I obviously pieced it all together after he was a karmic soulmate, so it was never supposed to last. But in that kind of ending, that's when I realized, holy shit, it's not me having an abandonment issue. It's me having a very low sense of self-worth. And I'm attracting in men and partners who are mirroring that and reflecting that to me. So until I can fix my own image, my own self-worth, and my self-love, I'm never going to be able to attract someone in who can love me in that way. And they're always going to treat me, not necessarily that they all treated me like shit, but they're never going to be able to stay and give me the type of love and relationship that I need because I can't give that to myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So And that was like an encompassing from all of them. Like when I look back,
Yeah.
that's the lesson I took from every single one of them.
The overarching theme that happens in all, I mean, that's sounding very relatable. I know I'm listening
Yes.
like Ash, relatable.
I'm like, have we had the same exes?
Yeah. I think it's something that you kind of have to come to terms with over time, especially like I know time and time again we talked about Ash and I talked about like having those same kind of people pop up in your life over and over again, like in different ways. And when there starts to be that pattern, it can be hard at times to be clued into it and to know what to do with it. And that's, I think, probably also like, again, just what spiraled you into this, search for kind of like this higher meaning of like, well, why is this happening to me and why am I experiencing these things? Do you think since, like, obviously you've talked about since expanding your kind of sense of self through spirituality, do you feel like it has impacted, how you either are in relationships or the kind of relationships that you attract? Not even just like romantic relationships, but also platonic relationships. I know we talked about cutting people out of your life on, our podcast recording for your podcast. So I'm wondering if you could just talk to that as well.
Of course. So the most recent, that karmic soulmate only ended at the end of January this year. So it's semi-recent. So I haven't really dated since, but I have noticed since I've done a lot of work on the self-love. I spent the entire month of February living in Mexico, just focusing on my self-love and doing more shadow work and healing through that. I'm definitely calling in a lot more, I don't want to say aligned, but I guess aligned would be the word, friendships and potential partners. I'm currently in my Saturn return at the moment, and it's all focused around relationships. So I'm not even looking for that area at the moment. I'm just going to let that pass and then work towards that afterwards. But yeah, definitely more aligned people in my life, more like soul vibe, soul tribe kind of vibe.
And when someone kind of doesn't align the way that you feel you need, especially like that, it can be hard when there's someone who's in your life who you really love and care for, or, really appreciate and does add value to your life, but there's like something missing in terms of like how, for example, they might add value to your life, but they might have low self-esteem themselves, but it might be like really toxic in a way that they really bring themselves down and they bring other people down. Like, have you ever experienced something like that?
Yeah. So I actually just moved back to Toronto from London a week ago, and just being back with my friends here, who I obviously haven't been with in years, I'm already noticing that, and I'm slowly trying to figure out a way how to navigate it, because it's really hard to be around. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want them to listen to this and feel called out. But
no, that is okay.
I try and make little comments of like, the more you say that, the more you're going to believe it. So stop saying that kind of thing. Like trying to just slowly shift their perspective, because it's sad for me to see them think like that as well. But the only thing that I can really do is limit my time with them, or be very specific about what it is we do when we're together. Yeah. So if we've been friends for years, like these are all my childhood friends that I've come home to. So it's more so just doing our traditional types of outings rather than spending a lot of one-on-one time together, that I think I'll probably do. Because I do love them. I still want them in my life, but you just have to set up those boundaries to protect yourself, especially energetically, because it all just flows, and then you take it in, and then it just sits unless you let it out somehow. So
yeah, and there's such a difference between like people that are in your life because you've kind of made that conscious decision to have them in your life and then to keep them in your life, versus people that you've been friends with for years and years and years based on proximity. And not saying that that's kind of all that your friendships are based off of, but there is a very big difference on how those friendships, I think, work and function. And it can be really, really, really hard once you're in that moment to kind of go, hey, I'm not vibing this. And, how do we kind of navigate that? Because usually when someone says that, they take criticism and they kind of get defensive, and it's really hard to break through that situation, because you're just like, well, I'm not criticizing you, like I love you and I want you to become a higher version of yourself, but I can't do the legwork to get you there, because that's just going to drag you down.
I think it's always just tough because like, and Indi knows who I'm about to talk about, but like it's tough when, and I'm sure you've experienced this, when you meet someone and like you want them to go further in their journey and, kind of not to sound cliche, but, like level up a bit and just get out of like the old mentalities and that, and they just don't want to go. And have you ever like had that kind of harsh experience of them kind of lashing out because of maybe like a
Oh
subconscious thing they have about like, what, so I'm not good enough, but it's like, no, you are. But
well, I mean, definitely in your case, Ash, and it could be the same with you, Alexis. Like, I think it's also a situation where like these specific friends at one point were kind of almost higher than you in terms of level, and then because you were here based on like the situation that you were in spiritually or whatever, and then you've done the work and you've gotten to a point where like that's swapped around, so you're now higher and they're on kind of that lower level of like not being able to move anywhere, and they're just like stuck in that like revolving door of feeling that way. So I think that's also a big part of where it comes from.
Yeah, so that has for sure happened to me. That happened to me actually recently in London, in 2021, I believe it was. I had a friend who I'd been friends with in London for 5-6 years, and she was going through a hard time, and she's very much in that 3D mindset and was just projecting everything onto me. And I could see it, so I wasn't taking it personally, but I kept saying, how can we fix this? Like, what can we do to fix this? I'm ready to kind of get our friendship back on track and move forward. And nothing I could say or do was good enough. She just kept lashing out, attacking me, being quite rude, actually. Like, instead of just saying what she was feeling and why she was upset, she went into attack mode and just was ripping me to shreds. And I told her, I said, when you're ready to work on this, I will be here for you, but I'm not willing to let you speak to me like this. I don't deserve that. And I haven't spoken to her since. It's been over a year and a half. So it was hard, but you have to put yourself first in certain situations and realize that you can't force people to be on the journey with you, and they all learn in their own time. And if that's the end of their season in your life, then you be grateful for what you had and move on.
Oh yeah. So, that is some relatable content right there.
Preach.
So speaking back to your kind of spirituality and your journey with spirituality, the different modalities of spirituality, what have you kind of utilized the most, and what have you gravitated towards the most, and how have they aided you in this kind of like finding a new version of yourself?
I did a lot of shadow work and inner child healing, which I know technically isn't spirituality. It's more, I guess, self-development, but it's in that realm. And meditation. Those were the two things that I really, really gravitated towards in the beginning, followed by breath work. And then I started to get into, at that same time, I started to get really into the natural medicines. So herbalism, Chinese medicine, stepping away from the Western world and kind of focusing on healing from within and healing with natural foods and all of that. So I think that in itself is quite spiritual, because all of those Eastern type of medicines and modalities, they're all focused on energy. And that, although there is science behind it now, back then it was all very quote unquote woo woo, and no one really believed it. So
it's still seen as woo woo. I embrace that though. So. I think it's fun. I'm like,
I love it.
If you feel that way about what I'm doing with my life and you think I'm woo woo, I think it's like really interesting, because sometimes I think a lot about.
It's more fun that way, to be seen as the crazy, lady with all her potions and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm good. You're not. Yeah. It's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, there's definitely a level of like, okay, well, stepping into this realm of like experiencing spirituality and understanding that a lot of it comes from, deep sacred cultures that have expanded over, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and understanding it's like, I'm a white person coming into this and trying to be respectful and understanding that. But also I think for me, it's about recognizing that a lot of the stresses in my life and the reason that I'm not at the level that I want to be is because of like the Western world and the way the Western world works, and just like not aligning with that and being like, well, I'm going to go elsewhere to find something that works for me, and I'm going to be respectful and do what I can to not just be the privileged white person coming in here and being like, okay, well, I'm just going to use all your like practices in a colonized way and et cetera, et cetera. Like, I'm going to do what I can. How do you find managing that as well? Like your awareness of the kind of social issues around also participating in spirituality?
To be honest, this is probably going to sound really bad, but I try to just stay away from anything like that. Like if there's any sort of negativity or controversialness around anything, I try and just take a step back, because I know in my heart that what I'm doing is not wrong. And I'm kind of being respectful of all the different cultures. Like when I became a Reiki master, it was with the proper training through the Master Usui. Like it was the Japanese lineage that I was learning. It wasn't like I was just some whitewash course online. Yeah. So I don't really play into that kind of negativity when people want to judge or create a false narrative and try and create controversy around it. It's not worth my time. Because as long as I know what I'm doing is right, then that's enough for me. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
And it sounds like you're doing the work well. And anyway, it sounds like you're not on like WikiHow, just like, how do I do Reiki? Like you're actually doing the work.
I think a lot of people as well will kind of like, that'll be another thing that people will use to try and bring you down and drag you down if they see you ascending to a higher version of yourself, using these tools and being like finding any way they can to cut you down. But yeah, no, I agree with Ash. It sounds like you're doing, I mean, I knew that you were doing the work. So, and that's something that I appreciate about you.
Yeah. I mean, they have done it to me, like on TikTok, for example. I went viral about quantum jumping. And they were ripping me to shreds. And I just limited my comments. I was like, I will just not let you comment on my post because I don't have time for this.
Not even about spirituality stuff, like about like pop culture stuff. I've had the exact same thing happen to me, and it is just
they're vicious.
It's so bad.
When we sat down to record our podcast episode, which I know hasn't been released yet, but it potentially will be by the time this episode is out. So who knows? We'll keep you updated on social media if you're listening to this. But I remember the first thing you asked me was, what's my big three? And also, what's my human design? So first of all, what's your big three and your human design?
So I'm a Pisces sun, a Scorpio moon, and a Leo rising.
Oh, I love that like water-fire combo.
My chart is hella watery. Like I have 6 or 7 placements in water and then 3 in the rest. It's very watery.
I mean, I think that's great. I'm a Cancer. I love water signs anyway. So
it's fitting as a Syrian starseed because it's a water planet. So it all kind of works, which is nice.
And your human design as well?
I'm a manifester. 6-2 are, I don't know if it's my life path numbers or what they're called, but the 6-2 kind of number profiles. And then I'm emotional authority.
Yes. Well, I remember I was unsure about like the concept of human design, and I have done some research since, but I'm obviously still not an expert. Would you, before going into like our human designs, because I also made sure Ash had hers prepared for the episode so we could talk about it. Would you mind giving like a bit of a rundown of what human design is?
Sure. So human design is similar to astrology in the way where it takes your birth time and your birthplace into account. But it more describes how your energy works within. So there's 5 different energy types. There's the generator, the manifesting generator, the projector, and the reflector. And they all operate in different ways. So me as the manifester, for example, I get spurts of energy and inspiration where I can get so much stuff done. But then in between those times, I have to take rest in order to recharge for that next wave of inspiration. And I get a lot of inspiration by being on my own somehow. I don't know how that works, but it does. It seems to work well. And then with the emotional authority, it basically means I will never, ever, ever feel 100% about a decision. And I just can't make a decision if I'm in a really, really good mood or a really, really bad mood. I kind of have to sit on it and wait until I'm in a neutral mindset and then see how it makes me feel. And if it makes me feel bad, obviously that's a no. But if I'm like a 70 to 80-ish yes on it, then I know I can move forward. And so with a projector, I don't know all of them by heart, but I know projectors, they just need a lot of rest, a lot of rest in order to actually work. And there's a thing called not self theme. So as a manifestor, my not self theme is anger. And theirs, I think, is, I can't remember what it is, but basically what their, I don't want to say issue, but their thing to work through in this lifetime is they don't feel like they're ever doing enough. They feel guilty for taking rest and like they're not being productive or they're not worthy if they're not proving themselves through working. Whereas manifestors, it's just, not being enough. So it ties in really well with my issue of self-worth through all my relationships. Generators are really go, 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 go. They have a ridiculous amount of energy all the time, as long as they're doing something that lights them up, that inspires them. If they're spending all their time doing something that is draining them, then they won't be living in alignment and they'll feel really tired and no energy. So as long as they're doing something that aligns with them, it's constant. A manifesting generator, their energy works similar to a generator's, but they can't really stick to one thing. They have lots of different interests. So you'll see those are the people that are doing something 1 month, the next month doing something else for like a week, and then just kind of jumping around. They have like 50 million ideas. And it's not a bad thing. It just maybe means if you're in a corporate role, maybe get a role where you're doing a bunch of different things within the company. So your job's not routine every single day. Reflector, I can't really remember, to be honest. I don't know any.
That's okay.
I know all the other ones because I know those people, but I haven't really looked too much into reflectors. They're so rare.
Yeah.
But
no, that's
they basically
fair.
reflect everything back to you. So they're like a mirror.
Since doing our episode, I looked it up and I am a projector.
Nice.
And
I have
like
so many of those in my life.
I read through and I was like, this is super interesting because I felt very seen in that whole idea of like, I just need a lot of rest time. And I feel like, we talked a lot about burnout on the podcast recently and how I came to that conclusion. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just where I was in my life. And I know Ash also did yours.
Mine is manifester. And so I was not surprised when I read everything because I was just like, how did I not know any of this sooner? Like, it just makes sense. Manifester, the fire starter, people who are here to get something started for other people to join in. I was like, okay.
You lead by example and inspire people as you're living in alignment yourself. It's really cool.
And I was read to filth when it said, the telltale feeling that happens when you're not, living within your design is anger, because that's my number one issue is levels of anger. One of the fun things, from my mother. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's always this thing about spirituality. As soon as you learn something new, it just validates you and makes sense. And then it goes back to why I think people think it's woo-woo. It's because we're actually being happy and finding ourselves, and the whole Western world capitalism doesn't want us to do that. A bit tin hat of me to say, but I honestly think that's why.
No,
I honestly think that's why.
So my conspiracy theorist hat is going to come on, but I truly believe that they put us in these concrete jungles and they feed us chemicals and do all these things so that we're out of touch. Our pineal gland is completely calcified. We're not in touch with that energetic side of ourselves. We don't remember who we are authentically. We're disconnected completely. We're living these depressing, mundane lives. We have mental health issues that they just chuck medicine onto us. And it's because we're easier to control that way. And I truly believe that's why psychedelics were banned, because it made people realize what actually mattered. It reconnected them back to themselves. No one was really caring about capitalism. It truly, truly was the peace and love era, because everyone was just so happy and they didn't care anymore. And the governments realized they were losing control and they were like, nope, we got to make this illegal. This is done. And now it's coming back through therapies and stuff. So I'm really excited.
And that whole sense, and I think it's something that I relate to a lot as well, even on a critical thinking level. I think that's for me. And again, it's hard territory to talk about it, but when I'm on TikTok and you can't have those big discourse, meaty discussions about things why the world works this way. And I think that's why a lot of people tend to jump down your throat and jump to conclusions, because they literally aren't being given the space to talk about these things. But it's also because we don't have the skills as a society on a whole to have critical thinking. And that's also an intentional kind of, restriction from, I guess, the powers that be, the people in society that have power, to be able to restrict our thinking on also a fundamental level about how the world works. Even if you're not into spirituality and things like that, it's just really, really hard, because people don't understand that things like critical thinking and communication are both learned skills that you have to figure out for yourself. It's not just something that you're born with. You know what I mean?
I honestly want to get into spiritual, I think ascension, I think that's how I say it.
Ascension.
Just because that's it. Because just the whole concept intrigues me and something that I honestly want to get into. So can you please explain, what it is, the levels of it, and how, I guess, trauma and rebirth works into it?
Sure. So spiritual ascension is essentially the same as like a spiritual awakening. It's just, I guess, another word for it. But what it boils down to is you're just shedding the old version of yourself and experiencing like an inner reboot, an inner rebirth. So that's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, vibrationally. You're expanding your heart, you're expanding your mind, your soul, and creating a new version of yourself that's at a higher vibration. And you're going through the process of removing limiting beliefs, healing through your trauma, removing any bad habits or ways of living that don't serve you and that aren't for your highest good. And you're just raising your frequency and operating as a higher version of yourself, essentially. People can connect that to like the 3D, the 5D, if you guys know what that is. So essentially what Earth has been in a very 3D atmosphere, which is very heavy, dense energy. It's very materialistic. It's all about control and wealth and greed and that kind of energy. And currently we're shifting towards 5D, which is very light, and it's all about just peace and love. So you'll notice that the difference between someone who's in 3D or 5D can be as simple as if a plane's delayed or your flight's canceled, the person in 5D will be like, oh, great. Now I have more time to shop at the airport, or, it is what it is. I'm just going to sit here and read my book or watch and, just chill. Like it doesn't irritate them. Whereas the person still living in that 3D reality will be yelling at the clerk at the desk, even though it has nothing to do with them, or freaking out, or this is the worst thing that can happen. I can't believe this is happening to me, and just really kind of spiraling.
That is so
that's like kind of a telltale sign. And you can hop back and forth. Like if you're operating in 5D majority of the time, or even 4D, something can really trigger you and bring you right back down. So it's not like once you're up there, you stay there. It's kind of a balance, and you have to learn how to flow through. And it's really an active, I don't want to say choice, but a practice to be in that kind of 5D vibration.
That definitely sounds very similar to like things I've been talking about recently. Like, not that I feel like I've recently swapped over from 3D to 5D, but more so of a sense of like, I've been kind of articulating it in a sense of like, I used to have control issues a lot, and control issues definitely came from things like trauma and, things that would kind of constantly be in my life that were triggering and then re-triggering me. And over the past few years, again, I've done those things to like completely get away from all of those things, and part of that was literally moving to a different state of the country. And so like having that ability to take stock and realize I don't have control issues anymore has definitely made me, not that I feel like I was ever like, full on having meltdowns about like inconveniences, but it was definitely something that like gave me anxiety and gave me like I was struggling with it. And so now I'm just like, okay, things happen, like for example, it's like, I think a lot of people struggle when they spend money on something that ends up not coming, like not being working out as quote unquote worth it, or like it might have been like a bit of a mistake. And I used to be so stressed about that because I do stress about money, and that's just comes from my childhood trauma. But now I'm just like, okay, that's okay. Like, I spent this money on something and it's not working out the way that I thought it would. That's okay. Let's move on, figure out, and go to the next thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's also just keeping the mindset of everything you spend, everything you give will always come back like threefold. As long as you have that good energy behind it and you truly believe that what you give will come back to you, then
absolutely.
The whole conversation on 5D and that, I think that's honestly, because I do feel like okay, so I always bring this up on the podcast, but it's a bit deep, for me at least. I saw a psychic a couple years ago now, and I was I know, I love my psychics. They're like they're like therapists to me. I love them. And she was just incredible, but she said that at the current time I was quite in a traumatic, living arrangement, and just I was dealing with a friend who just the friend who I was talking about before, who was just very vicious, and just I had to live with them. It was like this whole thing. And she said, basically, these are your cocoon years, and next year, which is this year, it's going to be the time when you finally break out. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a lot. You're going to have to go through a lot of things. But as soon as you open up, it's going to be amazing. And literally this whole year I've been seeing, because I know in my spiritual journey, I always see signs. Like, for example, and it sounds real witchy, but black cats. Like if I'll literally just be walking the street and I'll see a black cat, and I'm just like, okay, that's my spiritual, thing telling me that everything's going to be okay. But I keep seeing butterflies, and I haven't seen butterflies in years, but like I keep seeing butterflies in my garden and all that stuff. And I'm just like, what? And so I honestly think, I've gone on such a tangent. I forgot what I was talking about, but like, I just think it was fun. Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. I just think letting go of like those old people, and also at work, like that whole thing about quiet quitting. I know it's like critiqued and all that, but I basically have just started doing that. And if I need like a day off, I'll just take a day off, because I'm just like, you're paying me this much to do something. I'll do what you're paying me to do. But if I want, a day just for me, I'm going to do it. And I think that, that's the point I was going to get on. Sorry, I just remembered. I think that whenever I see that kind of like toxic girl boss mentality, or like, grind, hustle hard, it's just so, I guess, 3D to me, because it's just like, is that all you want? Is just like to, brag about how much money you make and stuff like that? It's just, what's your reaction to people like that?
So I have two thought processes on that. And one is that it's not inherently 3D to want abundance and success and financial reasons, but it's why you want it that can become 3D. So if you want to be financially abundant because you truly want to be able to provide for yourself, to provide for family, or if mental health struggles arise from you not being able to pay your bills and that sort of thing, and you want financial abundance to literally just feel secure in your own life, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't automatically chuck you into the 3D bucket. But if you only want financial abundance to brag about it, or to be able to buy the fancy car and the fancy house to show people how much you have and to show people how amazing you are and prove your worth through that way, or to try and compete, then that's when it becomes a little bit 3D. And so you kind of have to find the why behind why you want something. And if you're looking at your life and you're thinking, actually, I don't actually want this. I only want it because this is what society has told me is success, or this is what I feel like I need to do in order to impress these people or get my parents to be proud of me, or whatever it is, then maybe you should look at, kind of rejigging what it is you actually want and what you're working towards. So that's my first thing. And then my second one is the feminine versus the masculine energy in terms of the way we work. So when you're working out of your masculine energy, it's exactly like that. It's very work, 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 no days off, morning, like 5 a.m. grind mornings, like all that kind of stuff. Whereas when you're working in your feminine energy and you're flowing from there, it literally all is just about flow. Like you're just flowing with it. There's obviously you're going to need some structure in some areas, but it's not super, super rigid. And one of my favorite things is I've recently found a few coaches who operate out of their feminine and teach people how to run their businesses in that way. And it's my most favorite thing, because I hate selling as a coach, whatever it is. I hate having to sell to people. I don't want to have to convince you that you need me. When you're ready and you're at that part in your journey and you resonate with my content, then you'll naturally feel drawn and you'll know that I'm the right one for you to work with. And in the masculine, it's all about like selling, essentially creating funnels, trying to get people in through your content, the free webinars and masterclasses that you basically coerce them into buying something at the end. Like it's all very sneaky. You don't reveal your price for anything until the end of a call. Like it's, it feels very shady to me. And I know it works for so many people and that's great, but I'm so much more about just flowing, posting what aligns with me, posting what resonates, and trusting that the people who are meant to work with me will come in naturally. And when you're emanating that confidence and that energy and not operating in like a lack or scarcity or the need for clients, that's when they really truly start coming in and you're just working in alignment and flowing. So that's the other side. It's just, they might just be operating really, really heavily in their masculine and not understand how to flow within their feminine.
Everything you just said kind of blew my mind right now, because like for me, and I worked 6 years in sales retail. Like I know 100%
and
what
the
it is
worst sales retail there is.
Like telecommunications, like everyone needs a phone, right? So and like that's the thing is like I would always kind of be that person who I was never ever like, I was like, if you want to buy from me, you want to buy from me. Like if I'm going to give you, this is like the plan, this is the phone, this is everything you could ever want. And and that's why I always spend a lot of time with my customers to try and figure out what they needed. And then, I wasn't ever doing as well in my sales compared to other people who were working out of that masculine energy, as you said, being very sneaky, working ways around telling the truth to get the sales. And it detrimented me, I feel like, at times in how I was perceived, because I didn't want to be that way. And there was nothing anyone could ever do to make me sell in a way that I wasn't comfortable selling. And I was like, you want me to lie to people? Like, what am I supposed to do? And then it's like the same, I'm no longer in that role, but now I'm kind of thinking about my future and what I want to do. And I've just like kind of completed my degree, and I'm really interested in working into that like therapy role. And I want to do sex education, but I also want to do sex and relationship therapy and coaching and things like that. And I'm just like, I see online like all of these kinds of people either in similar industries or like yourself who do some kind of coaching. And, you know, you have to present yourself, because how else are people going to find you? But I'm always, I guess, seeing those people, or maybe even just perceiving it in a certain way where it's like, I don't want to have to, I don't know, show up on social media or online in a way that doesn't represent who I am and how I want to be. But that's just made me feel like a lot more comfortable, in a sense, like if I just kind of stick to my authentic self and my authentic reality and exist on the internet or in any spaces as I exist, as I am now, I will eventually find the people who want to work with me. So I'm going to do some more research after this episode, because that honestly just confirmed not only like what I already knew, but gave me new ways to articulate it. So thank you for that.
Of course, no problem. And it's interesting because it's not like you're just going to post nothing, like just filler content and then expect people to work with you. Like you're still able to provide content that has value and can teach them something. You're just not expecting anything in return. You're providing because that's what feels right and that's what's aligned at the time. And for me, for example, what I share generally is what I'm going through. Obviously not with my personal lens on it, but if I've just learned a lesson, then I'll do a post about that lesson.
Yeah.
So I can teach people what I've just experienced, but it's not like a planned content of like, I need to do this, and make sure, and push it all out on a certain day. It's just whatever feels aligned.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier to be authentically yourself and still be able to give value and have that semi-business lens on it. So yeah, I'm excited for you.
Well, thank you. I think all of the conversations around that are always driven towards like, how do you how do you utilize the algorithm to the best of your advantages to get in front of as many people? And obviously we even have that, and I'm sure you have that with your own podcast, like when you are trying to figure out how to, gain new listeners and get people like involved in what you're doing. It's like the focus is always about like, how do you like manipulate and, try and, what times are the best to post, what content is the best to post. Does it matter? It doesn't even matter if it aligns to you. You just got to do it. And I think that's been weighing, I think, both of us down, and then even more so in my personal life. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely I guess an advantage into doing that. So you kind of want to have a balance between the feminine and the masculine. So with what you just said on TikTok, for example, you could look up what type of content does best for your specific audience on TikTok. So is it one where you're just standing there talking and explaining something? Do they like the quick facts, like quick and hard, so no background, but just this? Do they like the ones where you're explaining what it is through text on the screen? So you can still do that kind of background research and see what resonates with your audience, but you're still conveying the same message in an authentic way. So there's the balance between the feminine and the masculine. You don't want to be too far on one end versus the other. It's like there needs to be a flow between them.
This is going back a bit, just because it's been in my brain. Can you please explain the concept of starseeds? I've heard about it like on my spiritual journey, but I've never been, I guess, bold enough to really go into it because it is a little confusing to me. Are you able to just... I would just love for someone like yourself to explain.
I will just preface, I am not an expert on starseeds. I know a fair bit compared to the average person who doesn't know what they are at all. But I'm definitely not super, super well versed in it. But essentially a starseed is a soul from another galaxy, another planet, another dimension who's reincarnated onto Earth. And they say the reason why we've done this is because we needed to assist in the shift from 3D to 5D. And there needed to be a certain number of awakened souls in order to help with this. Because if there wasn't enough of us, then we wouldn't have been able to make enough of an impact on the human race. And then I actually just recorded a podcast with someone for my show who told me something about starseeds I didn't know, but there's also starseeds called earthers, and they're literally souls from this earth who never leave. They're just, earth is their place and that's it. And they actually have a hard time kind of believing that there is life outside of Earth and outside of kind of our planet, which I thought was really interesting.
I'd say I've definitely met some Earthers in my time. I'm like thinking about people popping in my head and I'm like,
Yeah, for sure. But there's so many different types of starseeds, so many more than there's even information on. I'm from Sirius, so Sirius A, B, C, those kinds of planets. And they say that I think it was Sirius C is like held in a different dimension. So it's not actually a physical place. It's in a different dimension, which is kind of wild.
Insane.
And then there's people from Mintalkin. There's the Pleiadians, which is the majority of them on Earth. So they come from Pleiades, that galaxy. So they're kind of from all over the place. And then there's the Greys.
Yeah,
there's the Greys who are the typical Grey aliens that come and abduct you.
Oh my!
They're not funny, but
what? How does one find that kind of information and figure out where they might be from if they are?
Yeah, I need to do some reading.
So there's a few different ways. You can figure it out through past life regressions if you're able to go far enough. I knew I was a starseed from, I didn't know what the word was, but ever since I was a kid, I've always looked up at the night sky and felt this sense of longing and the sense of just home.
Yeah.
And I remember I think it was the first was it the first Men in Black or the second one? Where at the end, the girl has Orion on her necklace and she's like in that spaceship and like shoots off back into space. I think that's the second one. I remember seeing that scene and feeling, even though I know it's a movie, I felt like I want that to be me. Like I want to go back home kind of thing. And I always just had this very like nostalgic feeling whenever I would look up at the night sky. And so I always kind of felt different. I never really fit in per se. Like it's not like I had no friends or anything like that. Like I obviously had friends, but if I were on a sports team, for example, there would be like the main group of people and I would be like kind of like an extra in the group almost. So I was never, and that was with everything, sports, school. Like I never really had a crew where I felt like I was really, really on the in, unless I had like one specific best friend and it was just the two of us. And so I've always just kind of had this knowing. And then when I figured out what a starseed was, I heard about it on another podcast. I was like, oh my God, this is me. This is just 100% me. And so I was trying to research and I couldn't really find one that I resonated with. And then when I was on an ayahuasca retreat, there was a girl there who can read souls. She's the one that I also mentioned that was on my podcast talking about the earthers. And she looked at me and she was like, you're a Syrian. And like, that was it. Like, she just knew right away. And I was like, oh my God, like it just felt so comforting to know. And then when I had a past life regression the other month with one of my mentors, Kylie, she was like giving me information on my past life in Sirius. And I was like, this is just so crazy.
That
like,
is so cool.
So yeah, there's a few, you can do research and just see which aligns most. You can do past life regressions. You can get someone to read your soul for you and tell you in that way.
I have a question just popping off of that, like specifically with starseeds. Do you think it's possible for people who are starseeds, and again, I know that you're not an expert, so like I'm taking this with a grain of salt, and if you can't answer this question, I feel free to just be like, I have no idea. But do you think it's, and this could just be like going off your intuition, like do you think it's possible for people to be starseeds and kind of almost like lose their way? Like I know you said that, you know, they're here to kind of help us ascend into that 5D, but do you think it's possible for someone to come to Earth from, you know, another planet or be reincarnated, as the more accurate way to say, and then go through life and kind of not ever lose that feeling of like, oh, I'm otherworldly, but just lose their way in terms of like what their purpose is on Earth?
100% for sure. So starseeds also aren't just from one place. It's said that a lot of starseeds actually go to and reincarnate as a Pleiadian first before coming here because they're the most similar to humans. So we kind of jump around. But while we're on this earth to help ascend, we're also on this earth to learn. So everyone here, we're relearning lessons, we're healing karmic patterns, doing all sorts of those types of things. So if someone comes and they're on their journey of relearning and they get sucked into something, or they get really, really caught up in the 3D and the materialism, or, you know, just kind of lose themselves, really disconnect, then yeah, it's very possible that they would not live out that kind of soul purpose and then have to come back again.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I have issues with derealization and depersonalization, and I've had it since I was a kid. Like, I just feel as if everything is just, I don't know, like, I know it's real, but I just have issues. I don't know. I hope this makes sense, but everything just feels quite alien. I always have been kind of, the outsider, like looking in and being like, why is this real? Like, why is this happening? Stuff like that. So this whole conversation, I'm just like, I might need to do some research on this because this might be the answer. Because I just thought, because I have bipolar, I thought it was just a bipolar offset. But even with that, I've always gone, nah, because I feel like it's a spiritual thing. Yeah, because I've always had it, before. I guess I had bipolar. Like, when I was 4, I would just stare and, think about things and just. So that is just so interesting. Have you ever had, like, what's your process of dealing with stuff that you learn and I guess, like, it kind of overwhelms what you've previously learned? Have you had that experience?
Not really, to be honest. I'm trying to think of when I would have experienced that. Like, there's definitely moments where I learn something and it kind of blows my mind. Yeah. But I feel like whenever that happens, it's an instant resonance and it just makes sense. Like, I don't need to question it because my intuition and my inner knowing is just telling me, yes, this is the truth. So I haven't really had to deal or process. Sometimes when I hear it, I'll just sit there and I'm like, interesting. That's so interesting. And it takes me a second to process it. So you'll hear that actually on a lot of my episodes when I learn things. I'm like, interesting. I don't really have anything else to say because my brain is literally processing it.
It's computing it. Yeah.
But other than that, it's been okay for the most part.
I honestly think, and I've thought about this since I was a kid, that we're all connected, it's just a huge consciousness. And I think that's why you'll meet someone and it's just like pure, like, I know what they're thinking. Like, we can speak with just looking at each other. And, I might be very expressive in my face, but there's something more there. One, do you believe in that? And 2, what other things do you believe that the universe has control over us on? Well, not control. I don't want to use that word, but, like, I don't know what's the word for it. Just, how it, lingers in.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely do believe in that. And there's also the saying, if you have an idea for an invention or a company or an app or something and don't do anything about it, like a year later, someone else will come up with it and you're like, oh my God, I wanted to create that. It's because the universe has these things that it wants us to kind of develop into. It wants us to create. And if it gives it to you and you don't take action, then it'll just give it to someone else. So I truly believe in that. I think that's 100% accurate. And I think it's so interesting. And it's similar to also if you're thinking about someone and then all of a sudden they text you, you're like, oh, their ears were ringing or, but that's the kind of telepathy where you're sending that energy their way and it reaches them. And then you pop into their brain because you've just sent those energy waves over and then they message you. So I truly believe that it's all connected. And to be honest, I'm really interested in playing more with telepathy. I haven't done too much on it because you obviously need another human to do that with, but it fascinates me like crazy. And then the other thing that I think kind of plays into like the universe influencing us is 100% the law of attraction, the law of assumption, all of those kinds of energetics, especially with manifestation. And I truly believe when you actually believe and act as if something will happen to you, it puts you on that vibration of what you're trying to call in. And the more you embody that and truly believe it, there's no limiting beliefs in your subconscious or anything like that blocking it. They come to you so quickly. And it's the more you're in that and the more you're attracting, the faster and faster they come. You just kind of get on a roll. And that's something that the law of attraction and Abraham Hicks. Do you guys know who Abraham Hicks is?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, Indi, you got to research her.
Okay.
He talks a lot about it and talks about being in the receiving mode and matching the vibrations and all of that. And it's been so insightful. It's like one of the most amazing podcasts I've listened to. She's got books and other stuff, but I mainly just listen to her podcast. So I think that has a huge influence as well.
It's on the list of things that you've like written, like, I'm going to listen back when I edit this episode and be like, okay, here. Yep. Okay. Reminded me. Yeah. Cool. It's
Abraham Hicks is a good one.
Yeah.
Manifesting. I think it's amazing. I have done it I've done, sex manifesting where you use your orgasm to manifest. And I've used, other methods of manifesting. I like to ask, what was the first time you kind of realized that manifesting is real and it's amazing? And how do you, I guess, experience it now?
So that happened through my spiritual journey. And it really was when I started to dive into the shadow work and the inner child healing, because those types of healing really is what got rid of a lot of my limiting beliefs and my mental blocks in my subconscious mind that was preventing me from being able to manifest. And it's interesting because I feel like the biggest manifestation I think I had was going back to London. So I was home for a while and I really wanted to move back and I didn't really know how it was going to happen. I was feeling super stagnant in Toronto. I was in between jobs and getting myself there and then into a flat that was my dream. And, like those little moments, I remember sitting one day and I was like, oh my God, like I manifested this. And it was really funny because I do not do winter. I do not do the cold. I do not belong in Toronto or in Canada. It doesn't work with me. And I remember all those winters, I was like, I would be fine with winter as long as it was raining. If I didn't have to do below zero temperatures, if I didn't have to deal with snow and ice, if it was mild and like even windy and raining, it would be fine. I just don't want to deal with the snow. And then there was one day I was walking through London and I was pissed off because it was raining. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I manifested this. This is
winter
really
what you can handle. Yeah.
Winter, and now I'm complaining about it. Like I should be grateful. And that actually changed my perspective on the London winter for the rest of that season, which was amazing. So that's kind of when I realized it was real and it was really working. And something that's really been beneficial actually is manifesting on the new moon and then doing like a release ceremony on the full moons and tying that into astrology. So if you look at where the chart or where the moon is sitting in your chart at the actual time, so not when you're born, but like there's a full moon coming up soon, isn't there? So if you look up your chart and see where the moon is sitting now in your chart, which house it's in, if you manifest on those themes or release on those themes, it can be a lot more potent in what you're trying to call in. But again, if you have limiting beliefs and blocks and everything in your subconscious, then it won't come because you don't actually believe it'll happen. So
work through them first and then do it.
It's like that saying of like, when you blow out your birthday candles and you make a wish and like you tell someone like it won't come true. It's kind of like, it reminds me of that. It's like, if you don't believe it, it won't come true, which I think feels like a really common thing for people to understand, but they just, again, still don't seem to grasp it. It's like, if you don't fully commit, you won't get the reward or result that you're looking for.
Exactly. And everything is energy. Everything in this world is energy. And that's not a woo-woo thing. That's been scientifically proven. So I think the more you can kind of put the facts behind manifestation, more people will believe it. And I think Joe Dispenza is great for that, learning how to create your own reality, especially through meditation. So I think hopefully sooner or later it'll become a little bit more mainstream and people will all just be manifesting their dream lives and living their best lives.
I have one, that was meant to be my final question, but just one that's popped into my head. Just with the whole idea of like reincarnating and stuff like that. Sorry if I cause any, existential crises with this question. What do you believe happens after, you pass on? I've always been under the thing of reincarnation. I believe that very thoroughly just because I believe in past lives. What's your thoughts?
So that's an interesting one. I honestly didn't really have an opinion on it until I read the book Many Lives, Many Masters. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
I have heard of it. It's like on the list.
Yeah, it's on my book club.
Oh, good. But basically it talks about how after your death, you're kind of just in this, like your soul is in this void going over all of the lessons that you learned until the ascended masters come and take you into whatever's next for you. I don't know how much I relate to that per se, because as a starseed, I do believe that when my life here is done, I will go back to my home planet and then see what happens then. But I think that also stems from me knowing what some of my past lives were. Like this is my first incarnation on Earth. So in all of my past lives, I'm a super, super old soul, but I've been spirit guides. I've been the big entities helping people. I was helping them build the pyramids in Egypt. Like I was one of the energies giving them the information how to do it. So I was a healer on my planet. And so, I had a lot of past life experience, but not on Earth. So I think that's why for me, when I'm done here, I will just go back to kind of where I was before and live another life, if that makes sense. But again, it'll be different for everyone. I can't speak to it, but we are infinite souls. So even if our physical body is gone and is no longer alive, our soul will move on. So we'll still be here.
I know that you've got your own podcast because obviously I was a guest on it and eventually that episode will be out. Would you like to now plug your podcast and also where our listeners might be able to find you, reach you, especially if they want to maybe like chat to you or work with you in the future? Of
course. So my podcast is on Instagram at the Just Like You Show. And then it can be found on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, all of the main ones. And it's called Just Like You. And then my Instagram and TikTok are both iam.alexischristine, and there'll be a link in there to book a free discovery call. You can DM me on Instagram. I don't know if TikTok's rolled out the feature to DM people to everyone yet, so you might not be able to there. But if you do have that upgrade, then feel free to DM me there as well. And yeah, those are my main areas for contact.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alexis. It's been honestly, again, like eye-opening and reaffirming. And I really hope that our listeners have been able to listen to what you've got to say and really take something from it. You know, that's what we want with the podcast, just like I know that that's what you want with your podcast. So definitely go check it out. Go listen to my episode if it's out by now. If not, again, you'll see it on the social media and we'll link it in the show notes below. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Before we end the show, we want to thank our Patreons. We have Penelope, DJ, and Lex as our baddies, and Lana and Laurie as our hotties. This has been Hot Girls Theory. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please rate, review, and subscribe as we love to hear from you. Please email us at hotgirlstheory@gmail.com. And you can find me, Ashley, on Instagram at AshleySoRose, and Indi at Fueled by Indi on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And of course, you can find the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Hot Girls Theory. Bye, guys.